Really good economic data came in this week, yet Bitcoin continues to stall and what feels like it's in this purgatory area. We're going to talk about that in this video. There's a lot of recession fears looming, and Bitcoin's kind of just hanging out in like this weird spot right now. We're going to break all of that down in this video. Plus, I'm going to tell you how I'm navigating this, which, not to toot my own horn, but I've kind of called this perfectly within the past few weeks. But before we get started, welcome back to the channel. For those that are new, my name's Doc. Throughout the day, I'm a resident physician, and at night, I take you guys on my crypto and investing journey. Speaking of work, I just got off work. Super crazy week. We've had a ton of economic data. We're going to go through it all. We're going to unpack it. Guys, we are going to be dropping some alpha in this video. Stay towards the end of the video because I promise I'm going to give you some insight on how to navigate the next couple weeks because honestly, we don't want your bags to bleed back to Bitcoin. Okay, guys, we got some good data this week. We're just going to go through it real quick. CPI data came back on Tuesday. I think it was Tuesday or Wednesday. It was better than expected, right? We were expecting 2.9% year over year CPI inflation. It came back as 2.8%. Kind of a similar thing with PPI data. This came out the next day. And guys, month over month, PPI inflation data came back at 0%, and the expectation was 0.3. So that's really good. Plus, unemployment claims were also lower than expected, right? The projected was 225,000. It came back at 220,000. And yes, we did get a mini rally because of this. You can see that here, but it really wasn't anything durable or sustainable, right? Before this data came out, we are hanging out in the low 80s, right around 80, 81,000. And then yes, we have gotten up to 84,000. And a lot of people are thinking like, Doc, what gives? We know that the inflation data has been really pivotal to future rate cuts, and everyone was kind of expecting us to make a bigger move. And right, the entire crypto market kind of shares in this, right? We go to the weekly view, there's a lot of red here. Yes, we do have a couple green projects here, Caspa being one of them. I made a video on this a couple days ago. I'm going to link that on a card here shortly. But for the most part, we have a sea of red. And what's going on? Like, what's causing this? Well, this is what people were worrying about the majority of the week. And I'm probably going to make my thumbnail similar to this, but the Senate just passed their CR bill, and this is to avoid a government shutdown. Now, I don't want to get too political here. I'm just trying to keep this as objective as possible. But long story short, 8 of the Democrats, they actually ended up siding with the Republicans, and we got this bill passed. And this is good, right? Because if we did not have if the government were to shut down, all risk assets would have responded accordingly. And speaking of risk assets, if we go to the stock market, the entire stock market had a green day, right? Dow Jones is up about 1.5%. The S&P up 2%. Microsoft up 2%. Tesla up almost 4%. And I guess the other thing we should talk about is MicroStrategy up 13% on the day. And guess what, guys? We're going to talk more about MicroStrategy because I think this is a leading indicator of what's to come for Bitcoin. So, okay, we got through inflation data. You know, we finally just now kind of avoided this government shutdown. That's really good. But Bitcoin's still hanging out in the mid 80s. And here's why. The Atlanta Fed, they are estimating that the Q1 GDP is going to come back negative, right? Negative. And that's not good news, right? So why is this important, right? It's just an estimate, right? Q1's not over yet. Well, here is why. If the US GDP for Q1 does come back negative, that would be scary because kind of your classical definition of a recession is when we have 2 consecutive quarters of negative GDP growth, right? So are we on the cusp of a recession? And I'm going to tell you guys right now, I do not think we are on the cusp of a recession. And the reason that I think that is because we haven't gotten Q1 numbers back yet, right? It's still the middle of March. Q1 doesn't end until the end of March. And there's actually other feds, like the Philadelphia Fed, they're actually predicting a plus 2% GDP for Q1. So we kind of have these broad estimates. And right now we're just waiting. We're kind of in limbo for what Q1 GDP looks like. The other big thing, and guys, we're going to get to why I think Bitcoin's going to start to increase here in April in just a second. If you're getting any value of this, hit the like button, subscribe, turn on notifications so YouTube pushes more content like this to you. But the big thing that I think people are going to be waiting for is next week, March 19th, because that's when the FOMC meeting is. And we're not going to get a rate cut this month, but highly likely we're getting one in May. And everybody's going to be waiting on the on the next FOMC meeting to see if we stop quantitative tightening. So this is all good. This is all reassuring. I think that big thing that everybody's talking about is the global money supply. And we're going to talk about this because I think this is so important. So Colin Talks Crypto, he's been charting this really closely. He's worth the follow, guys. So basically what he did is him and this other guy named Marnie Merrick, they charted global money supply. And let's just look at that real quick. This is global money supply, and this is the highest it's ever been, right? Global money supply has never been as high as it is right now. And that's good because we know when the Fed, not just in the US, right? This is China, Japan, the whole EU, amongst other countries, when they turn on the money printer, risk assets go up, right? So we know the entire world is being flooded with cash, right? And they are looking at 3 different scenarios, basically where they shift the money supply 105 days, 75 days, or 46 days ahead of where Bitcoin is, because this tends to have a strong correlation with risk on assets. Okay, don't get confused by this. This yellow line, that's the global money supply. And then obviously these candles, this is Bitcoin. What this chart shows is that the money supply is just shifted forward 75 days. And guys, that makes sense, right? When these different nations print a bunch of money, it's not like it immediately goes into the end consumer's hands, right? Typically, the government gets it first. They make a bunch of purchases. Those businesses then have the money. They might be buying more, expanding more. Eventually, the money trickles down to the everyday consumer like you and I. So that's why there's this delay. You guys can see right here, global money supply is super increasing. And I know like probably the 5 of you watching that thinks this is important. Like, I'm glad you're still here because this is huge. This is, in my opinion, going to predict why the Bitcoin high is not in yet, right? So this is the 70-day, 75-day shift. The more accurate one, in my opinion, is the 105-day shift, right? So we can see, like right here, money supply was mostly stagnant. So was Bitcoin's price. We had this spike in the global money supply. Bitcoin follows. This is why this is so important, guys. This is why it's so important. This rally that we're getting at 84,000, some people are saying that's this mini bump right here, right? This mini bump in the global money supply, people are saying this correlates with this increase in Bitcoin's price, right? So if we go back to the money supply, right, we're getting this nice little rally here, right here. If this holds true, this is a false bump and we'd come back down, hang out for a little bit until we get this final big rally. Now, here's the thing. This is just an estimate, right? And if we look at the 75-day chart, we might be past this missed hump here, and now we're here before we get ready for a big blast off. And it kind of raises the question, like, which model's correct? Well, I want you to think of it differently. All models are wrong, some are useful. So if we go back and we look at these two, it's kind of like, okay, do we follow the 75-day model? Do we follow the 105-day model? Think of it like this. Within April, right, because we're almost done with March, within April, we should see an uptick in price because the global money supply is increasing. And guys, this is a pretty strong correlation. It also doesn't just correlate with Bitcoin. It correlates with the traditional stock market as well. So personally, what I'm doing is when Bitcoin is taking these dips down or these pullbacks, I'm buying plays that I have strong conviction in, right? I'm buying Bitcoin, I'm buying ETH, I'm buying XRP, I'm buying AVAX, I'm buying Jasmy, I'm buying Caspa, I'm buying ICP, I'm buying SEI, I'm buying SUI. There's a lot of projects that I'm buying on these big dips. Now, if you guys want to purchase these or you want to trade them, I'm going to put my BTCC link down below. 10% bonus for first-time depositors. You can also get an extra 10 Gs per user, lower trading fees if you use my link down below. Plus, it's a no KYC, no VPN. You can use big leverage. So that's how I'm navigating this market, right? Also, down below, link is going to be to my website. And the other thing I want to say, guys, really appreciate the help. We have 3.6 thousand watch hours. We're almost monetized. We're getting that at 4,000. And I couldn't have done this without you guys, right? I make zero money on this YouTube thing. I'm just doing it because it's a passion of mine. And honestly, all of your guys' support has been really helpful. Also, I know I haven't posted in like 2 days. So it's been kind of just a busy day for me for work and some family stuff, but I'm getting back on the train. I'm going to be posting all throughout this weekend. So if you want the inside scoop on crypto and you want to see what I'm doing, hit the like button, subscribe so YouTube can push more content like this to you. Plus, down below, I'm going to put a link to my free Discord. We have nothing to sell you. Building an awesome community of like-minded people. Again, guys, if you got any value of this, hit the like button, subscribe, and I'll see you guys on my next video.